Hello, brothers and sisters. My name is Teresa Ford, and I'm an affiliate spiritual director with Ignatius House Jesuit Retreat Center in beautiful Sandy Springs, Georgia. Love and humility. It's hard to think of ourselves as not being loving or humble. That is until God graces us with an experience of genuine, authentic love and humility that opens our eyes and encourages us to widen our hearts. This is what happened to the apostles in John 13, 1-15. Imagine it. There was probably nervous tension in the air at the Last Supper, a low tone of whispered conversation. The apostles knew that they and Jesus were in danger. They knew that Jesus was at the top of the most wanted list by the authorities. The apostles had been out all day doing the work of Jesus, loving people, healing, and preaching. Their feet must have been filthy after walking in the streets in their sandals all day. Then Jesus, their Lord and God, does the unthinkable. Jesus kneels down in front of each one of them, including Judas, and washes their feet. This simple and sweet act of love is our example of how to treat one another. We are to love as Jesus loves. We are to emulate his humility. It really is that simple. That is easy when we think of people we care for deeply or people we admire. But do we have to love those who are hard to love? Do we have to love the cranky, rude cashier in the grocery store? The guy in the fancy sports car who cuts us off on the highway? The coworker who repeatedly insinuates that your promotion was not earned? Or the neighbor who's determined to ruin your Saturday morning sleeping in with his leaf blower? What about the fellow churchgoers who disagree with who we voted for and are happy to tell us why? What about those who hate us because of our race, gender identification, citizenship status, or sexual orientation? Are we supposed to love them too? Well, Jesus did. By washing the feet of Judas, Jesus demonstrates that his love is bigger than our sin. Jesus' love is bigger than our sin. Knowing that Judas would betray him, leading to his torture, humiliation, and death on the cross, Jesus washed his feet too. He loved him. Jesus, the Messiah, the second person of the Trinity, lowered himself to that of a marginalized slave to show us how to love. If it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for us. We are disciples of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, who is God incarnate. Much is expected of us. We live in uncertain times, no matter what side of the fence we find ourselves on. It's time to set aside selfishness, self-centeredness, and learn to serve our brothers and sisters as Jesus did, to love our brothers and sisters as Jesus loves. God doesn't play favorites, and neither should we. We are called to a non-preferential love, a love that includes everyone. St. Ignatius identifies 3 kinds of humility in the spiritual exercises, namely, to humble oneself to total obedience to God, to be ready for honor or dishonor, poverty or wealth, or anything else for God, and to desire poverty, dishonor, and even be a fool for God, since Christ was. Ignatius was most encouraged by the 3rd type of humility because it demonstrated a desire to be like Christ. Look inside yourselves, my friends. Where do you stand on love and humility? Are you loving well? Examine how humility shows up in your day-to-day encounters. Be well.